You are listening to Where is the Line? The stories you will hear will be depraved, disturbing, and true. If you are easily unsettled, you may find this program offensive. And if you are under the age of 18, fuck off.
He runs up and he grabs one of them, man. Like a guy that big can snap a woman's neck like a pencil stick. So I fucking ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
Everybody drinking blood, everybody eating brains. Some monster party. Everybody eating flesh, everybody breaking bones. Some monster party.
Thank you for listening to episode 26 of Where is the Line? My name is Kevin, and with me today is the savior of Where is the Line, my friend Ashley. Say something disturbing, Ashley.
Watch this.
Watch this. When you hear the phrase, watch this, honk your horn. I mention that Ashley is the savior of our show because it doesn't look like Samantha's going to be coming back anytime soon. We might hear from her again eventually, but she's very busy right now. If you'd like to check out what she has been up to, you can visit her new website, myacrylicnightmare.com. But with me today is Ashley, as I said. I only have so many friends who I feel like would do this with me, and I cannot see myself sitting in here doing this alone and laughing at my own jokes. So if it weren't for you, we might just be hanging up Where's the Line right now. So thank you.
Well, I'm happy to be here. More than happy to be here, actually, and happy to try to help you out.
Well, thank you. And quit rattling your paper that picks up on the microphone.
I apologize.
What's new?
What is new? With me? Nothing.
Nothing at all.
No, really, nothing. Nothing's new.
I got a new tattoo.
You did get a new tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get that?
Last weekend.
Is it on your thigh? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my haunted Jack in the Box. So some of our patrons might have seen the haunted Jack in the Box. So I have a Jack in the Box that is haunted or maybe just broken. But you can close the top and it will pop out. It might pop out in 30 seconds. It might pop out in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've had that Jack in the Box for a while.
Yes, and you used to be terrified of it.
Yeah, it'll get me in my giggles. It scares me into giggle land somehow. I don't know. I have a clown. I don't know if it's haunted, but I have a pretty creepy clown I found at the thrift store. I think you've posted your Jack in the Box on the Where is the Line Facebook group page. Mm-hmm. A picture of it. I know you posted that there.
Yep.
Yep.
And it is featured in some of our new stickers and t-shirts.
I was wondering if it was our new mascot.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I finally figured out a way to get cheap Where is the Line t-shirts without keeping them on hand and thereby preventing myself from giving them away and costing myself hundreds of dollars. So I have, you can actually buy Where is the Line t-shirts on Amazon right now. Just search for them, and there's one there that's only $13.99, which means we don't make any money off of it, but I'd rather have somebody wearing a shirt than the $2 or $3 I'd have made off of it anyway. We got some new patrons to relate to you. We have 2 new patrons at our depraved level, and those are Christopher Wiseman from Virginia and another Australian, Wayne L.C.
Yay, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. At our disturbed level, we have 1L Hillary. That's Hillary Juergens from Tennessee. Zsa Kardashian from up there in Ohio. And also Claire Sexton, who recently sent us a show idea that we've actually already been working on, which means that Claire and myself are on the same wavelength.
Nice.
Great minds and all of that. And we have one more patron at our troubled level, Erin Giles, a Texas girl who I've actually met before.
That's correct. She's a good friend of mine. Hi, Erin. Thanks for joining our Patreon. We appreciate that. Love you.
Thank you, Erin. And thank the rest of you for joining our Patreon program. If you'd like to join our Patreon program yourself, visit patreon.com/whereistheline. You can hang out with us monthly at our live streams.
So exciting.
Yeah, which are usually really awkward, but yeah, sometimes entertainingly so. You get some free stickers. There's all kinds of things. Just get on there and take a look. And finally, I would like to give a special thanks to a new listener, Eliza Rickman. Eliza travels with a podcast that you might have heard of called Welcome to Night Vale. And I am getting comped to go to Welcome to Night Vale show in Germantown, Tennessee on March 18th. So if you live around the Memphis area in Tennessee, send us an email. Let me know. We'll hang out and have a couple of drinks. I'll be there for a couple of days.
Fancy pants, getting comped.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Big Time.
I've been just walking around, just telling everybody, I'm getting comped to Welcome to Night Vale. Yeah, and I've never been comped for anything, and I actually had to look up what comped meant. I was pretty sure that I knew what it meant, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't wrong.
That's fair.
So I looked it up, and then thereafter, I've been telling everyone. And I even messaged Eliza, and I was like, is it okay if I say that I got comped to Welcome to Night Vale on the show?
Is this
or is
a
that
secret?
something I'm not supposed to say, for some reason? She's like, no, it's fine. LOL.
That's great. I had to explain what a podcast was to my in-laws multiple times in the past few days of preparing for this show. I had to explain it to my father-in-law as I was walking out the door to record this today.
You didn't tell them how to find it, did you?
Absolutely not. They do not know the name of the show. I just said, it's like a radio show. We record it and we upload it onto the internet. That was it.
All right. Yeah, you should leave it at that. Because you don't want to end up in a situation like me where my mother listens to the show.
Yeah, I definitely posted the last show on my Facebook, but I had to block, I think it was a total of 58 people, relatives, anyone under the age of 18, and especially my mother and mother-in-law.
Yeah, speaking of that last show with Molly, the femdom, apparently we got a lot of people worked up with this one. I got a few emails that some people listened to it and just started fucking.
You really enjoyed it? That's nice.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it got us all a little turned on.
Yeah. Maybe this one won't do that. Yeah, I kind of don't think that that's going to happen
No.
with this episode.
I don't think so as well. I will say I went to both of the local sex shops here where we live trying to find poppers for Kevin and myself since we've never had any. But they're kind of hard to come by down here in Alabama. So I think I would have to order them online.
Well, they do have the pegging starter kits here, though.
I did see that.
Because I also went into the sex shop just looking for stuff that Molly had talked about.
You went the day after I messaged you going, I'm trying to find you something in the sex store.
And then I went.
Did you see there were two fucking machines on the back wall. I don't know. They didn't look as good as the one Molly had.
Yeah. And they had some torsos with no limbs that you can have sex with.
Yep.
They were like $700.
I would just hate to have to clean them afterwards. Like, oh, look at the mess I've made. I just hate the thought of it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Well, I kind of hate the thought of having sex with a quadra amputee plastic person.
Right. That's fair enough. We've gotten off topic.
Yeah, you wanna get to this episode?
I think we're ready.
All right, let's do it. On February 2nd, 2013, an unlikely hero was introduced to the world via a YouTube video. In the video, a young, long-haired hitchhiker identifying himself as Kai, straight out of Dogtown, describes to a reporter from KMPH News in California the events that had taken place just before their arrival on the scene. According to Kai, he'd caught a ride with a stranger, and together the pair headed north out of Bakersfield, California. Shortly after their departure, though, the man with whom Kai had hitched a ride completely flipped his shit and purposefully drove his car into a utility crew. This man then claimed to be the Son of God before placing into a bear hug a woman who'd been unfortunate enough to be passing by at the time, and eventually this man ended up naked. In his interview with KMPH, Kai described how he used the hatchet to fight off the deranged attacker and thereby save the woman who'd received the man's embrace. It wasn't Kai's actions, though, that led to the video of this interview to be viewed over 7 million times. It was Kai's own personality. Kai comes across in that video as a lovable, albeit though maybe a little bit dopey, drifter with a love for life and a heart of gold. Millions of people viewed the clip and shared it with their friends, and most likely came away with a positive view of this seemingly amiable, transient, young hatchet-wielding hippie. Viral videos, though, are not known to be conduits to lasting celebrity. Just 1 week after Kai's video went viral, the internet's attention began to shift to the next online phenomenon, the Harlem Shake.
then do the Harlem Shake.
Though Kai would continue to be recognized anywhere he went, he was no longer a regular topic of conversation in the developed world, and seemingly very few people thought to learn more about Kai's past and where he eventually ended up. Where Kai eventually ended up was in a New Jersey prison serving 57 years for the murder of a 73-year-old man. So what do we really know about Kai, and what events transpired that led to his incarceration? That's what we're talking about on this episode. Kai, the hatchet-wielding hippie, folk hero or murderer?
Both.
Well, I guess we don't have to do the episode now. Because now we know. It's settled.
Ashley says both, bitch. Bye.
All right. Thank you for listening to episode 26 of Where is the Line?
Sorry.
So, Kai, all people got this, they see this clip of Kai. 7 million people saw that video. And like me, I saw it, and it was funny. I probably shared it with a couple people and then went on to the next thing. I never really considered too much about who this person really was. Kai, his real name is Caleb Lawrence McGillvary. He grew up in Canada. He claims to have been through a lot of abuse as a child, both physical and sexual. On a Mother's Day post that he put on his Facebook page in May 2013, he wrote about his birth parents, quote, "I've already been thrown away by them. They refused to talk to me about when I was a child, saying that guilt, shame, and blame have no place in their lives because Jesus forgives them. I would get locked in a room for 20 hours a day with a little porta-potty camp toilet in the corner of the room, and when I'd make any noise at all, I'd get hit with little broom handles and wooden spoons. Then after that, my mouth was filled with hot pepper and soap for yelling, 'Fuck you,' at the top of my lungs from the little cage I was kept in."
Wow. Rough.
And when he talks about his childhood, Kai also talks about behaviors that he had when he was younger that are behaviors that you might expect from a child with psychiatric disorders or emotional issues. He describes stealing from his church, having these violent outbursts, getting into it with siblings. But he frames all of these behaviors in such a way that in his telling of them, they are responses to things that were done to him by his parents. So, for example, he says that he stole from church to buy food because his parents were feeding him regularly. And I bring that up because his birth mother denies all of these allegations that Kai has made about this childhood abuse. And she says that Kai was a very troubled child and that he had a lot of emotional issues. And so there's going to be a lot of points in the story where you're trying to figure out who to believe, and this is the first one of those points. But regardless of the reasons, Kai was removed from that home when he was 11 years old.
Right.
And when social services removes Kai, he gets placed in what's known as Canada as Bosco homes. Bosco homes are kind of the lay term for a foundation called the John Bosco Child and Family Services Foundation. And this is a group that buys up real estate in Canada, and then they rent it out at very low cost to other organizations that claim to exist in one way or another for the benefit of underprivileged children. I looked up the John Bosco Child and Family Services Foundation, and one of the beneficiaries that they pay out to is a group called the Wilberforce Project, which was formerly known as Alberta Pro-Life.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and so this group, if you look at their website, this is purely a pro-life advocacy organization. There's no indication of their website that they have any use for the types of properties that the Bosco Foundation distributes. I mean, the Bosco Foundation buys real estate. They buy buildings, property, give it to other organizations that are supposed to help children. The Wilberforce Project is just a pro-life group. They do have an office space, which I looked up, but there's nothing on their website about what they use that office space for. So there's nowhere on there where you can make an appointment to come there. There's nowhere on there that says if you need to speak with someone, come by. There's no way to book an appointment there. There's no mention of counselors. They just advocate for the rights of unborn children in what seems like a purposefully undefined way. So I'm just going to say that the Wilberforce Project is a little suspicious looking to me. But who knows? Maybe they need that office space for boxes.
Was it calling people?
Well, I mean...
Campaigning? I don't
really think you need a grant for that. Just go buy a phone. You know?
So...
Anyway.
So he was in a Bosco home. So was this kind of like a foster home? I understand the purchasing of homes.
Yeah.
And then giving them to different organizations that assist children, but I don't quite...
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Not
how that
really
works
sure.
either.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just going to cut out that you even asked me.
That's fine.
Because I don't know the answer.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was too, but there was one point where I'm like, I've spent 3 hours looking up Bosco homes, which have nothing.
You can
to
go down
fucking
rabbit
do
holes with this. Yeah, no, I understand.
I do it with every one of these.
Yeah.
So when Kai's a teenager, he eventually ends up in a foster home with some foster parents. And these people, Kai seems to have thought well of. According to him, they treated him like they were supposed to, which was, according to him, the first time in his life that anybody had really been kind to him. So Kai stays with his family for a few years. Then his adventurous spirit catches up with him, and he hits the road. And so Kai starts hitchhiking, and one of the first things he does is comes to America illegally. He didn't bother with passports or anything like that. He just hitched a ride, crossed the border. And in 2013, he found himself hitchhiking through Bakersfield, California.
On Friday, February 1st, 2013, Kai was hitchhiking in Bakersfield, California, when he was picked up by a man named Jet McBride.
That's a good name.
It is a really good name. I like the name Jet.
Yeah.
It's nice. I mean, hello. I like any name other than Ashley. Ugh.
Well, and Kevin. We have boring names.
Yeah.
We need to change our name.
I would really love to. I was almost named Dixie, which I hated the majority of my life. And now I'm like, you know what? I would take Dixie any day over Ashley.
I was almost named Rhett Butler.
R-H-E-T-T, Rhett.
Yeah, from Gone with the Wind. My mom's a huge Gone with the Wind fan. And so if I was born, she was going to name me Rhett Butler if I were a boy and Scarlett O'Hara if I were a girl.
Very specific.
My dad, I believe, vetoed that idea. And so I ended up being known as Kevin, which, by the way, I spent years telling people that I was named after the first person in my family who went to college, who was this guy who went to college, first person in the family to get a degree, ended up not using it, and he opened up an archery shop where he'd sell bows and arrows and things, obviously, in case you were curious what an archery shop was. And eventually, though, he had some depression issues, and he killed himself.
Oh, no.
None of that happened.
Wait, none of what happened?
None of that. No, I'm named after my mom went into a gas station in Walker County, and there was a guy in there named Kevin, and she was like, well, that's a pretty good name. And if I can't name him Rhett Butler, I'll just name him Kevin. The shit with the first person in college and the archery shop and all of that.
And suicide? They had to throw in a side of fucking suicide?
Well, no, I made all that up somehow. I dreamed it or something, and I told people for years. And then, I bring it up with Mom one day, and I was like, so I'm the second person in the family to go to college, and, and she's like, what? It's like the guy I'm named after went, the one that killed himself, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so, yeah, I just got this false memory of where my name came from. But no, I'm named after a random guy at a gas station.
Gas station in Walker County?
Yeah.
I love it.
And I also looked up the name. I found this article, a German article, where apparently Germans feel that the name Kevin is the worst thing that you could ever be named. Like, to them, it's Chad.
Oh.
Yeah. And the big quote in the article was, Kevin is not a name, it's a diagnosis. Yeah. And I told my mom about that, which I shouldn't have. I thought it was funny. Mm. And then Mom was like, oh, I'm so sorry I named you Kevin. It's like, oh, don't worry about Mom. I just thought it was funny.
So this past Thanksgiving, I was sitting at my aunt's house beside my mom, and I was saying, I really wish I'd been named Dixie. There's so many Ashleys running around, and it's such a normal plain name, and my mother's feelings got hurt. She was on the verge of tears. Yeah, it was strange. And I was named after Victor's sister Ashley on Young and the Restless.
Oh, mothers get upset if you don't like your name. So if you don't like your name, just keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself.
Don't tell your mama.
Yeah. Well, Dixie got vetoed because Dad had a dog named Dixie when he was a child. He was like, "We're not naming my daughter after a dog I had." So, all right. So
where were we?
We were mentioning
Jet McBride.
Jet McBride picked up Kai in Bakersfield, California. Kai was asking if he was heading to Fresno, California, and indeed he was, because McBride, was on his way back home to Tacoma, Washington. Why did I say it like that?
Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma, Washington. To give you guys a bit of a visual, Jet McBride is physically described as over 6 feet tall and anywhere between 250 to 280 pounds. He is a big guy. I think he was maybe in his 50s at the time. I'm not sure of his age.
I saw pictures of him in his trial. He does look like a big guy, and he has a kind of a military haircut, kind of a crew cut.
He's a bigger guy. He could maybe make you feel threatened. Maybe.
And he does have a threatening look about him, too, which you can't help, but he does look like a
most definitely
threatening sort of guy.
So they hit the road from Bakersfield going up to Fresno. Once they get to Fresno, Kai asks Mr. Jet McBride, if he would like to smoke some marijuana. So they end up pulling into a gas station. Kai kind of directs them, and he's like, "I think that guy over there has some." So
yeah, you didn't get the impression that Kai knew the drug dealer, right? Like he just was like, pull into a gas station. I'll find somebody with some weed.
I think he was just guessing, or maybe he was familiar with Fresno and the hot spots. Who knows?
I'm betting he guessed.
So McBride hands Kai $40, and Kai gets out of the car, and he comes back about 10, 15 minutes later with some marijuana. So they leave the gas station. They go pull in at some recycling center or junkyard, some big parking lot. They park. Apparently, this is something I bet you didn't know. McBride's car was overheating. It was a black Oldsmobile, and it kept overheating. So Kai got out of the car. He had rolled a joint, so they smoked a little. Kai got out after they had smoked some of the joint, and he started drinking water out of this gallon thing he had bought, and he was pouring water on the radiator because it was overheating and maybe in it. Do you pour water in a radiator? Yes?
You pour it all around the radiator.
Do you pour it in it?
No, you just pour it around
Okay, well then he was pouring water on it.
No, I'm just kidding you. You put water in the radiator.
Yeah. Well, if it's overheating, it makes sense you could pour water on it too.
Yeah, but not around it.
Well, okay, I was like, shit, I poured water in a radiator. I'm over here freaking out, Kevin, going, well, that's what happened with that Civic I was telling you about. Fuck, I poured water in it. Okay. So they were there for about, I think, 20, 30 minutes. And so they get back in the car. I think in that time frame, they were kind of having a heart-to-heart. This is Kai's telling of it. They're kind of having a heart-to-heart. McBride at some point was telling Kai that years earlier he had gone to the Virgin Islands and had sex with this 14-year-old girl, a.k.a. 14, yes. So I think that was freaking Kai out a little bit. Again, this is Kai's retelling. So they leave the recycling center, the parking lot they were in, and within 1 minute to 3 minutes, they were at a intersections with stop signs. Mm-hmm. McBride had stopped at the stop sign, and there was a utility crew for PG&E. What does that stand for?
Pacific Gas and Electric.
That's right, Pacific Gas and Electric. So there was a utility crew working at this intersection, and McBride looks over at Kai and says, "Watch this." And he picks up speed, leaving the intersection, and he's aiming towards the utility workers in that truck. And according to Kai, he kind of pointed his chin at this one African-American gentleman. He ends up pinning this man against the utility truck with his black Oldsmobile.
And so this man, he's pinned by the leg. So the front bumper of the Oldsmobile is correct. Compressing his legs against
the utility truck.
Okay.
And so it looks like the worker, his name's Rayshawn Neely. Mm-hmm. It looks like Neely's kind of sitting on top of the Oldsmobile as his legs are being squished in between the two vehicles. The car also hit another worker. He didn't get pinned, but he did get hit.
And Rayshawn Neely stayed in a wheelchair for a while after that, right?
Yeah, he was in a wheelchair, I think, for 4 months. The second guy, his last name was Simon. He sustained a chipped vertebrae. He was placed on light duty for 6 months and still has occasional lower back and neck pain. This was at the time that he testified for the trial, 10 months after the accident. Neely, when he was removed from the vehicle, his foot was facing the wrong way. Ooh. He had 6 broken bones in his right leg and foot. He had to have surgery so they could insert a rod into his leg. And at the time he testified, the steel rod had not been removed yet, and as the bones had not healed, and he was seeing a doctor on a regular basis.
Pins and rods are not fun.
No.
I had one taken out of my hand last year. 2 of them taken out of my hand last year.
I would imagine something like that would, number one, be uncomfortable and like itch. Would that, is it an itchy situation to have like the pins? It wasn't itchy at all.
No, well, they typically will put a cast over the pins.
Oh, okay.
So everything in there was itchy.
Oh, gosh. That would drive me insane. I've never had a broken bone. I do not want to experience it.
Oh, really?
Like, legit, knock on wood. I am not interested in having anything broken.
Lucky for you. I feel like I break a bone at least every year.
Really? No.
Yeah, the past 2 years I've had a broken rib, 2 broken bones in my hand. I broke a finger, I think, too.
Did you break the rib at the same time you broke your hand?
No, I collapsed for no good reason, possibly due to my brain tumor, onto a toilet.
Oh, no.
I was not preparing to do anything in the toilet. I was just standing above it and just collapsed and landed on my side, and it broke one of my ribs. It broke it bad, too. It's a floating rib. Like, it'll never be connected again. If you take an x-ray of my side...
It's just sitting there.
Yeah. There's a rib that comes halfway around, and then the rest of it's offset.
What?
It doesn't touch the rest of it. It just floats in there.
Wait, when did you break a rib? In the past 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, as you can imagine, it was a bit of a hectic scene at that point. A man had ran his car not only into another vehicle, but into people and pinned a man. That's it. So the injured guy, so Neely, the man that was trapped and pinned between the vehicles, he was screaming, "Get it off me, get it off me." So he was wanting them to move the car so he could get out. Again, he's injured. He's pinned between the cars. Kai had hopped out of the car first before McBride. So Kai had hopped out of the car, grabbed his bag, grabbed the keys out of the ignition, and he had thrown his bag over to the side. He told another utility worker, get his wife on the phone, Neely's wife on the phone. That's all we can do for him right now. Don't move the car. We can't move the car.
Yeah.
So McBride is trying to get out of the car. Another utility worker, because there was a total of 6 utility workers on the scene. Another utility worker was closing the door on McBride, trying to keep him in the car so he wouldn't get out and hurt anyone. Because obviously, at this point, this man's a threat. He just hit us with the car. Even if it was an accident, he's still acting kind of crazy. At this point, McBride, starts shouting things like, "I am Jesus. I can do anything I want. I'm here to take you to heaven." He also shouts at some point in this scene, he shouts, "I'm here to take all the N-words to heaven." So he was just yelling, being wild. He eventually forces his way out of the car. He runs up to Neely and is forcefully pulling on him, trying to get him out from between the vehicles.
The man who pinned him.
Yes. And he's also saying, "Do you believe in your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? Repent for your sins," things of that nature. "I'm here to take you to heaven. I'm Jesus Christ." So, like, he's repeating this, like, "I'm Jesus," over and over again. Neely's still shouting, "Get the car off me." There was also a mother and daughter. The daughter was an adult daughter. It's something I feel like I should point out.
Yeah.
A mother and daughter had ran over to the scene. They had witnessed the accident/incident, and they ran over. The mother had actually been a CNA, certified nursing assistant. So she ran over trying to assist. She was actually going towards McBride, trying to, I think, contain him, make sure he was okay, the guy that...
Yeah. Because at this point, she didn't know if this was an accident.
What was going on. Exactly.
She didn't realize that this was Jesus.
Right. This is Jesus. He's come to
Pin people.
pin people with cars and hurt people. So the other injured man, he couldn't really do much. I think he was just kind of laying off to the side.
Yeah.
Because he's been injured. He was hit. I think he was able to kind of push off the car as well, so the impact wasn't as bad as it could have been for him. Mm-hmm. I did see where Neely, at the time of impact, Neely was receiving a phone call on his cell phone. That's why he didn't notice his coworkers like telling him to move. Yeah. Because they were all shouting, like, get out of the way, there's a car coming. The other guy, I think he definitely heard them and he was able to push off. So
I wonder who he was talking to. Did you ever?
I don't know. I don't know who was on the phone. I don't even know if he got to answer the phone. Okay. So Kai is literally, he's standing off to the side. The other injured man, Simon, he overhears Kai say, "What a wild fucking ride, man." As soon as he had hopped out of the car, Kai's observing. He did say specifically, "Do not move the car." The mother and daughter, they were both saying, "We cannot move. Do not move this car."
Which is actually incredibly good advice.
Exactly.
Which I really only know because they have a problem in New York and the subways of people who fall off of the platform when the train comes while they're trying to get back out. And they will get squished in that little space between the train and the platform. And when that happens, there's nothing you can do for those people.
Right.
But they will typically, if that happens, they'll call the family. Mm-hmm. Because when they move the train, those internal organs get pushed up. And when they move the train, that all just falls. So when people get pinned in that situation in the subway, they'll call the families and let the families come and talk to them before they move the train because they know that they can't save the person.
Wow.
That was a weird side note. But
did not know that. Crushing, serious business.
Yeah. Don't get yourself crushed.
Right. So McBride, he's decided he needs to move the car. So he goes back to the car. He's trying to see. He notices the keys aren't in it, so he's not sure where the keys are. He's still, again, shouting the same stuff. I'm Jesus. I can do whatever I want. So at that point, another uninjured utility worker trying to contain McBride as well as that mother. And I know she's pulling on him. They're pulling on him, trying to not let him get in the car. They didn't know where the keys were at this point, I don't think. Trying to not let him get back to Neely and pull on him because you could do more damage at this point. We have to wait for emergency services to show up, right? Mm-hmm. So they're trying to contain him. This is when McBride grabs the woman, the mother. He grabs her in a bear hug, face to face. He's squeezing her. She's having a hard time breathing. She can't move her arms. At this point, he is also telling her, again, he's Jesus. He can save her, stuff like that. And he's also kissing her face, which is a strange thing that hasn't really been mentioned much. So he's squeezing her in a bear hug, kissing her face, telling her that he's Jesus. She can't move. She's having a hard time breathing. From the side, Kai's going, "You need to let her go, man. You need to let her go. We don't hurt women. We don't hurt women. You don't hit women. Let her go." At this point, Kai is going into that bag of his, and he pulls out his hatchet, and he runs over, and he hits McBride in the back of his head. And I'm assuming he hit the back of his head and his neck, just that general area. He hit him. He said, "Let her go, let her go." He didn't let her go at that point. So that's when he went smash, smash, smash. At that point, McBride did let go of the woman. He fell down to the ground. He kind of collapsed at that point. According to the woman, he still grabbed her leg. I don't know if that's true or not. She said he grabbed her by the ankle, and then she kind of shook him off or something. Kai hears, he's like, "I need the keys." McBride's saying, "I need the keys, I need the keys." Kai has the keys, he has the hatchet, and he has his bag in his hand. And Kai starts running up the road because in his head, he's trying to distract him and get this guy away from Neely and all the others. So he's hoping that the
guy will chase him for his keys.
So he's trying to bait him and lure him away from the scene until help arrives. So Kai's just running down the road with the hatchet, keys in this big bag, his hitchhiking bag. At that point, McBride did not follow him. At some point, McBride fell back down, and I guess it's at that time he stripped himself of his clothes, completely naked. He got naked, and he's laying in the ground, bleeding from the head, still claiming that he's Jesus.
Hit in the head with the hatchet 3 times.
at least.
Kai's running around with the man's keys, trying to get him to chase him.
And other people are chasing Kai down, trying to tell him, hey, man, stop. Like, he's on the ground.
Because
like,
people don't know who the crazy man is at this point.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, the actual perpetrator is just laying on the ground, taking his clothes off.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
And nobody stops this in time to keep him from getting completely naked.
Right. Well, I think at that point, they were just trying to keep him down. Like, I think from my understanding, because I've read a lot of people's testimony on it, like they were kind of holding him down, but he was still stripped down naked. When EMS and the cops and firefighters arrived, I saw where they were still trying to restrain him, to handcuff him. Someone with the police department had shown up. She said that 6 people were on top of him trying to restrain him, and he was still resisting arrest and shouting profanity and shouting that he was Jesus, with these like huge head wounds, like, gashed open. Yeah. So it turned out his injuries, they were able to, he received staples in his head. So they finally restrained him, got him on the ambulance, took him to the hospital. So he was handcuffed naked and put in the ambulance. I mean, it's just crazy. But he had his finger was split open. His head was split open. He had to receive staples in his head. He had skin knees, and he had bruises, like facial bruises on his face. So those are the injuries. And he was either sent to jail that same day or the next evening. So as soon as they got him stitched up, stapled up, he was sent on his way to jail. So every time you hear Kai, the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker, and that he attacked this man with a hatchet, I had assumed the man died.
I had too. I actually did not know that person didn't die until we started looking up things for this. I just assumed you get hit in the head 3 times with a hatchet.
Right,
You're
exactly.
Done. And who knows if Kai actually meant to not kill him.
Right.
Apparently Kai thought that he did kill him, though.
He did. He was when he got interviewed right after the incident, he thought the guy was dead or was going to die. Oh, they did do a drug test on McBride in the hospital. He did test positive for THC from the marijuana, but he tested negative for any other.
Nothing else.
That
sounds like a bath salts episode.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and that's exactly. Yeah.
But this guy is just a mentally disturbed guy.
Yes. As it turns out. Yes.
Drugs didn't really have anything to do with anything.
Correct. And McBride had also mentioned that he did take medicinal marijuana.
It was probably that marijuana.
Well, he said, I do take medicinal marijuana, but what I normally smoke is different from what Kai got, and that stuff tasted different, or it tasted funny. He did say that. So he was trying to insinuate it was laced with something, but the drug screen came back. It was just THC. That was it.
Yeah, so folks listening, unless you want to end up naked and handcuffed, don't smoke marijuana. So after the incident with Jet McBride and this video that went viral, Kai becomes kind of a celebrity. Everybody's talking about this video. Kai even ended up on Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. So about 3 months after Kai appeared on Kimmel, he hitchhiked to New York. And at this point, Kai's celebrity has grown enough. I mean, we're still talking about, a week. Within the week of this video going viral, and his celebrity has grown enough that pretty much anywhere he goes in the U.S., somebody's going to recognize him. And so this is a guy, I don't know if you've been around a lot of train hoppers or, I don't know any hitchhikers, but I have been around a lot of the kids that used to ride on the trains. Usually pretty much anywhere they get off the train, they'll find some punks, somebody that's going to take them in. But Kai, though, now that people recognize his face, pretty much anywhere he goes, he can go into a bar, have a couple of drinks, somebody recognizes him, he's going to find a place to stay.
See, it seems like he almost grew a bit of a cult following, even immediately following the video, the interview, the incident. It seems like he kind of had a bit of a cult following, and I think he utilized the internet a bit to maybe contact people and find places to stay, would be my guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and as he's traveling across the country, he's a fun-loving guy. He's going out to bars and things, and people recognize him. And, these kids will, they see this new internet celebrity. They get to talking to him. Hey, let's throw a big party. And they phone all of their friends and say, you're not going to believe who's here. And so everywhere Kai goes, there's a party. It's just going to fucking erupt.
Oh, I'm sure. And he got a sweet face tattoo in California before he started hitching his way to New York.
Yeah, that big tattoo on the side of his face. It looks like a mutton chop from a distance. It doesn't look like he has one big sideburn. And then you get close to it and you realize it's an elaborate pattern.
Bunch of different symbols.
So Kai is quickly traveling across the country, partying it up pretty much everywhere he goes, until he gets to New York City. So while Kai is in Times Square, he gets approached by this 73-year-old man named Joseph Galfy. And according to Kai, Galfy approached him and told Kai, he said, you look like you're lost. And Kai told him that he wasn't from there. And he said that he wanted to get to New Jersey to visit somebody. And Galfy tells Kai that he lives near there and that Kai can hitch a ride with him. But what ends up happening is that Galfy and Kai go back to Galfy's house. Galfy is a partner in a law firm in New York, so I imagine this house is pretty nice. And Kai ends up staying with Joseph Galfy for 2 days. On the first night, Kai says that the two of them ate, they drank some beer, and Kai remembers feeling like he got really sleepy after that. And so Kai goes to the guest room of Galfy's house and goes to bed. And he says he wakes up the next morning and notices some crust on the side of his face, which at the time he says that he thinks is drool. He just drooled in his sleep and it dried up. The next night, though, Galfy and Kai do about the same thing. They get something to eat, start drinking, and then again, Kai says that he gets unusually sleepy and passes out again. But now when he wakes up this time, it's Sunday evening, and he's not in the guest room, he's in Galfy's room, and according to Kai, Joseph Galfy is on top of him, and Kai is being sexually assaulted.
Wow.
And so later on, when Kai thinks back about it, he thinks about both of those nights where he got really sleepy, unusually, and Kai very firmly believes, that Joseph Galfy had drugged him both nights. And so on the second night when Kai wakes up and claims that Galfy's on top of him, assaulting him, Kai starts fighting back. Kai apparently fights back with quite a bit of viciousness. So according to Kai, Galfy's on top of him. Kai kicks up towards Galfy's head with enough force that it almost entirely tears Galfy's ear off. It said that his ear was only connected to his head by a little strip of skin. In addition to that, Galfy had neck fractures and facial fractures. In the trial later on, the medical examiner said, quote, Galfy, who stood 5'5", weighed 230 pounds, and had a stent in his chest due to a heart condition, sustained numerous serious blunt force injuries to his face, head, neck, chest, and arms, including 3 skull fractures, 4 broken ribs, and severe contusions, abrasions, and bleeding. And that's in addition to the almost severed ear. So Kai's response to that sexual assault was apparently extreme.
Very extreme.
So Kai fights back. He gets Joseph Galfy off of him, and he runs away. And so some people ask, why didn't Kai call the police? Well, Kai's an illegal immigrant still. Illegal immigrants do not call the police. After that, Kai traveled to Philadelphia. As Ashley said, he's got this new haircut. He doesn't look exactly like the guy in the viral video, but he's still a pretty recognizable guy, and probably as soon as he opens his mouth, if you've seen that video, it's going to occur to you who this guy is. So Kai goes into a Starbucks to buy a cup of coffee, gets recognized, the cops get called, and Kai gets picked up. And so this is just a few months from that viral video incident. So Jed McBride had not yet gone to trial. And Kai, obviously, is going to make a pretty good witness for that trial. So we're not talking about Galfy anymore. We're going back for a second to Jed McBride, the crazy man who pinned somebody and got naked. So they get in touch with Kai because they need him to be a witness at this trial, but since he is under arrest, he is not able to go. So back in California, one of the attorneys has to read part of Kai's statement on what happened that day. So if you can imagine an attorney standing in front of the court has to read statements like this. Quote, I mean, he fucking ruined the vibe, man. I would really like to see a videotape. A lawyer reading a statement prepared by Kai the hatchet-wielding hippie. So that's going on in California. Back in New Jersey, where Kai is incarcerated, not much is going on, and not much is going to go on for a very, very long time.
Long time.
Before Kai even goes to trial, he has to sit in jail for 6 years.
6 fucking years.
Before even going to trial.
So he was 24 at the time of the initial incident, the hatchet wielding incident.
Yeah, so he's up around 30.
And so he's pushing 30 by the time,
I mean, a presumed innocent man even gets to go to trial.
Right.
Regardless of how you end up feeling about this, I do feel really bad for somebody that has to sit in jail for 6 years before you even get a fucking trial.
Yeah, I think him being from Canada illegally or being undocumented, and also on top of that, he was a home free, aka homeless guy at that. I don't think that helped him. I mean, maybe I'm wrong there, but I think even if he's guilty, even if, all of it's true and he just murdered this man, like whatever.
Well, the American justice system, if you're not from America, it is pretty clearly geared towards the wealthy. If you get sued by a rich person in America, you are just fucked.
Really? Good thing I don't know any rich people.
Yeah, me either. So when Kai finally gets to go to trial, like we said, he'd been waiting to go for 6 years. The trial lasts 4 weeks. At the end of it, the judge of this trial called Kai, quote, a manipulative and cold-blooded killer, and sentenced Kai to 57 years for first-degree murder. Kai has a lot of problems with the way this trial was conducted. For one thing, Kai says that he was never given a rape kit, so I assume that he told the police shortly after being picked up that he had been sexually assaulted and no rape kit was given to him. And Kai also has a lot of feelings that may possibly swerve into the area of conspiracy concerning the man who he killed, Joseph Galfie's relationship to law enforcement and the New York judicial system. According to Kai, he says that Galfie was friends with the judge, friends with police, and because of that, these people involved tampered with the evidence and made a case against Kai that was stronger than it really should have been. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Kai is a murderer? Do you think he was drugged?
I think it's a possibility. I'm on the fence about it, to be honest.
I am too.
For me, there's a lot of gray, right? A lot of gray area. In my opinion, there is a possibility that Galfie might have been maybe closeted.
Well, okay, so Galfie almost certainly was gay.
Okay.
So when Galfie was killed, he was married, and the only reason I know that is that I found an obituary for him where it said that he was survived by his wife. But I also found interviews with his neighbors where they said that Galfie had lived with a man. He had a partner that he was living with for years who had died just a few years before this happened. And if you read articles about this, they, for whatever reason, they never actually say that Galfie was gay, but they say everything but that. It gets heavily implied to the point of being almost a certainty that Galfie was homosexual, probably hiding it because he's a partner in this law firm.
And he has a wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they could have an arrangement. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely.
I don't get the feeling that they were living together.
That's what I was going to say. It seems like they did not live together for whatever reason. But I mean, just because you're on the down low does not mean in any way, shape, or form that you need to be killed. If you are sexually assaulting someone, that's kind of a different story. I definitely feel like Kai got the raw end of it. Even, like, it's obvious he did do this, but did he plan on doing it? You know, was it premeditated? It definitely doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't. And there's several things. So first of all, Kai claims that he believes that Galfy had slipped drugs into his drink.
Like a roofie?
Yeah. I don't know Kai. I know some people who remind me of Kai,
Yes.
and I don't feel like I would have to slip drugs into anything. You just hand it to them.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do with them.
Well, but I mean, if I feel like Kai is the
You're
kind of
right.
guy that if I were to want to roofie Kai, or
Hey, man, I got some acid.
you could probably even just tell him it's a roofie and he would take it anyway. You know, I mean, like, I know, like I said, he reminds me of people that I know who you could just hand them fucking anything and they
Right.
would take it. And I kind of feel like Kai might be that kind of guy.
Right. He could be. I mean, no idea. Maybe. Yeah.
I just don't feel like you have to sneak drugs into somebody like Kai, you know?
Right. But if there's ill intent, you would. Like, hey.
Well, I mean, if there's ill intent, you just tell them it's something else. And you just be like, hey, you want this tablet of acid? Sure. And then now he's roofied.
tablet of acid, y'all.
And now he's roofied. You put acid on anything.
Yeah, you can. I've had it on Altoids.
Yeah, I was
Sweet
about to say
Tarts.
Altoids, yeah. Another thing about Kai's story that doesn't really line up to me is that, so shortly after this altercation that he has that ended up killing Galfy, he writes on his Facebook wall, quote, "What would you do if you woke up with a groggy head, metallic taste in your mouth in a stranger's house, walked to the mirror and seen cum dripping from the side of your face from your mouth, and you started retching, realizing that someone had drugged, raped, and blown their fucking load in you? What would you do?" And so the thing about that bugs me is that, so he had said two different things about this. So he said that he woke up after that first night, noticed the crust on his face, assumed it was drool,
Right.
went on about his day. But then after, you know, at this point, he doesn't know that he's killed Galfy. He knows that he's injured Galfy. He knows that he got in a fight. And at that point, he writes on Facebook, you know, what would you do if you woke up with cum on the side of your face? So he's, in his Facebook post, he's acting like this altercation happened when he found this on the side of his face. But when he talks about it later, he says that it didn't occur to him that
That.
could have been cum until
The next
after
morning.
everything had already happened.
When he woke up with Galfy on top of him.
Yeah. The crust on his face couldn't really have been the motive if it did not occur to him what that crust might have been until after
Oh, right.
the fight. That's what I'm getting at.
I understand what you're saying.
He has said that I had cum on my face, and he was assaulting me. And so I, attacked him. But then on the other hand, he's saying that it didn't occur to him that might have been semen until after everything was already over. And back to the first-degree murder charge. In order to be charged for first-degree murder, there has to be premeditation.
Right.
Kai doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that does a whole lot of premeditating.
No.
I have my own little theory.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
This is just complete. I have no supporting documents for this. But what I feel like happened, maybe Kai's in Times Square. He gets approached by this elderly man who claims to have drugs, money, and booze. Kai goes back with them. They hang out for a couple of days. Kai gets fucking blitzed, has a drug-induced fit, kills the man. And, again, having known several transient-type people, exchanging sex for a little spending money is not that unusual in that culture. So I'm not saying that Kai prostituted himself. I'm just saying that it would not be shocking to me at all if someone who were a hitchhiker who came across a wealthy New York lawyer might take a little money for some sexual favors.
It's weird to me to have sex for money. I know it happens. I know people are into it. I personally can't comprehend it, but I also
totally have sex for money. I should put that on our Patreon.
Shut up, Kevin.
No, not really.
You would get in so much trouble.
Well, ain't nobody take me up on it anyway.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. I'll put that at our 50-cent level. That's one Sacagawea $1.
You and these Sacagaweas. A mess. But doing some type of social favor for a place to stay, even a meal, but yeah, money too, sure. Or hey, I got drugs and money. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Anyway, there's only 2 people who know what really happened, and one of them's dead.
Right.
So this is really all the information you're going to get on this, so you kind of got to make up your own mind what you think about Kai, and I really don't know.
If he was being assaulted, if he was drugged, and if he was also abused sexually and physically as a child, like I could see that being very triggering. Mm-hmm. And I definitely don't think he thought or knew that he killed him when he left. I really don't think he did. I
don't either. And I also don't think that he intended to kill him before he killed him. Right. I don't think that this was premeditated. I mean,
exactly.
Kai might deserve to be in jail, but I do not believe that he deserves that first-degree murder charge.
I think it's very extreme.
Caleb Lawrence McGillvary, also known as Kai, the Hatchet-wielding hippie, continues to maintain that he was sexually assaulted by Joseph Galfie and that he acted only in self-defense. He is currently serving out his 57-year sentence in New Jersey State Prison in Trenton, New Jersey. If you think that Kai was innocent, you can support his cause by getting on Facebook and looking up Kai the Hitchhiker Legal Support Page. If you believe Kai to be guilty, don't do that. Thank you for listening to episode 26 of Where is the Line? If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. New episodes come out on the 1st and the 13th of every month. Before we go, we got a couple of reviews and voicemails to get to. Our first review comes from Love to Sing to You 84. It's a 5-star review. Love to Sing to You 84 writes, smart and funny. I don't usually and have never binged a podcast until now. I listen to this at work with earbuds because it is definitely not safe for work. My coworkers hear me giggling and gasping to myself in my little cubicle. I hope they can see the earbuds, otherwise they probably think I'm a little off. I love how funny and intellectually stimulating this show is. This podcast has inspired a thirst for the dark and the grotesque. I can't get enough. I fucking love being described as intellectually stimulating. I'm not sure if that's true, but I like that somebody thinks it is. Our next review comes from Shell Ray. I noticed something about Shell Ray.
Oh, yeah?
I thought that name sounded familiar. Shell Ray deleted a previous review to leave us another one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm cool with it.
That's actually pretty genius.
Shell Ray gives us a 5-star review. She writes, Dumbass Tit. Great episode with Ashley.
Yay! Someone liked me.
She continues, Kevin, I just love. He makes me laugh so much. You never disappoint. Kevin, your disclaimer at the end was so sweet. I hope people stayed on to listen.
And I definitely think you should go give that last podcast a listen, especially at the end, if you cut it off when that outro song came on, and hear what Kevin had to say about
It's a little too much.
out.
It's a little too much. I wish I hadn't done that now.
It was great. It was great, guys. I did not know that he was going to air it. I did not know he was going to officially come out on my first podcast episode with him. He said he wanted to, thought it might get cut. And then not only did he come out, he got really sappy and sweet about coming out to his mom at the end.
Our last review comes from
Ruda.
Bednay. It's a 5-star review.
Another 5-star? Wow.
Total accident. came across this podcast by accident, and I love it. The hosts are awesome. I love the dynamic they share and the weird little stories they have. 10 out of 10. Would recommend, and I'm excited to hear more episodes. Thank you.
Whoop, whoop. 10 out of 10. That's high praise.
No, thank you, Bednay, for that fantastic 5-star review.
We appreciate that.
And that concludes all of the reviews that we have on iTunes. So if you enjoy the show, maybe hop over there and leave us a review. And if you do, and you do it soon, you'll certainly hear it on the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to voicemails. This voicemail comes from Charlotte.
Hello, my name is Charlotte, and I'm calling from New Orleans. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and Kevin, I'm so happy to hear you too are a bisexual icon, and I literally screamed in my car when I heard you say that on the last episode, because yeah, I too am bisexual, so always great to have more of us out there, and yeah, keep doing what you guys are doing. I love it so much. My favorite curse word probably has to be fuck or god damn it. I really love saying god damn it. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.
Well, fuck. That was an awesome voicemail.
God damn it. We're like starting a little bisexual army.
Yeah, like, that's kind of weird. Like, I wasn't, like, we've known each other, what, 17, 18 years, you said?
Yeah, I think 18 now. Yeah.
I was pretty much instantly out to you, or
Yeah.
not?
Oh, it didn't come up at the very beginning of our friendship, but in the first year. I mean, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I think I had known already. And my boyfriend at the time was trying to kiss you all the time, so you know, wasn't too hard to figure out.
If you'd like to leave us a voicemail of your own, you can give us a call at 386-227-7848. Do you happen to know what that spells?
Dumbass tit.
Dumbass tit. Again,
Dumbass tit.
Again, that number's 386-227-7848. That's dumbass tit. To hear a special voicemail message left just for you by our very own Where Is the Line intro man.
Ooh.
That's going to do it for this episode of Where Is the Line. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye. Deuces. Can I start saying deuces on the outro?
Yeah, do it.
Deuces.
Kids, when you go to bed, stay away from your closets and don't look under your bed.